This video is sponsored by Squarespace. I have used the same iPad every day for the last 4 years. It's this one, the 2018 iPad Pro. It's dirty. I review tech. A lot of channels here on YouTube review tech, and there is one thing that tech channels like mine are really bad at figuring out, and that is, how do you cover durability? How long a product is going to last? And there are so many factors that go into that. How much do you use it? What conditions is it used in? What are you using it for? According to Screen Time, I've used this iPad on average 3 to 4 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I've had some minor problems. Headphones that wouldn't pair, running out of storage. It stopped recharging at one point and I had to clean out its B-hole. USB hole. And with everything else I've reviewed, why do I always come back to this iPad? Aren't the new ones better? I have them right over here. And what about all of the other products that I've reviewed over time? Those are all very good questions. So let's dig into that. What do I mean that I've used it every single day? Is the iPad my main computer? So what are my daily drivers? One, I have a phone. Right now, that's an iPhone. I have a computer. Right now, that's a Mac, and that has primarily been a Mac for several years now. And then the third device I use every day is this iPad Pro. When it comes to running this channel and running my business, most of that is done through the Mac. I'm editing videos on it. I'm creating graphics for it. I'm doing communications on it. But I'm also an illustrator, so that is what I'm mainly using the iPad for. So usually for some time a day, I'm picking up the iPad and I'm sketching or I'm drawing or I'm finishing an illustration. Many of the illustrations that you see in my videos, if it's drawn on a Cintiq or an Android tablet or something else, a lot of those illustrations start on the iPad. I figure out, like, usually the sketch, what the color composition is going to be. Sometimes I'll even go pretty far into the illustration before I decide, hey, this is video worthy, and then I'll recreate it on another device so it just looks much, much smoother when you see it drawn out in the video. Some of that has started to change recently with the way I've structured my videos, but for the most part, that's how I've used it over the years. I do other things with it too. A lot of my social media consumption is done there. I watch a lot of YouTube on that, a lot of videos on that. I consume a lot of comics on this thing. And when I got my hands on a Magic Keyboard a few years back, I started connecting it to that and writing a lot of my scripts on the iPad as well. So something worth pointing out here is the iPad is not a laptop replacement for me. It is an accessory to my laptop. There are some things my laptop does better. There are some things the iPad does better. And the fact that they work so well together really works well for me. If you've watched many of the videos on this channel, or if you've taken any of my courses, like my Procreate course or my new Intro to Digital Art course, you have definitely seen this iPad in action. It appears all the time. So that brings me to, what is it not good at? There's two main things that I have a hard time using the iPad for. One is video editing. It can definitely do video editing. This particular iPad only has 64 gigabytes of storage on it. That's not enough for video editing. That's going to fill up with like maybe 2 projects, 3 projects. And I find that editing video on a laptop is just so much more efficient for me personally. The other thing is graphic design. And again, you can totally do graphic design on this thing. Affinity Designer, Affinity Photo, Affinity Publisher now as well is on the iPad. That's a fantastic graphic suite that allows you to do a lot of things. However, I find that I'm just so much faster when I'm using a laptop to do those things. I also find in many of my videos, I'll take a lot of the graphics that I create in something like Photoshop, and I'm often pulling those graphics over into Premiere Pro. So doing all of that on the same machine just keeps that workflow going. The next part is durability. Has anything broken on this? I am on my second folio cover. I think this is my third paper-like screen protector. Those get replaced every year or so. And I mentioned earlier some of the hiccups that I had, but nothing major. For the most part, this iPad works the same exact way it worked the day that I set it up. I haven't noticed any slowdown. I haven't noticed any problems. Even the battery life has held up really well. I can still get like 5 hours of drawing time out of this thing. One of the things that came out when this iPad was brand new was there was something called Bendgate. Maybe it was Bendgate 2. People were taking this iPad and sticking it in their bag and they were getting bent. And I think someone even did a video where they bent their iPad on video to show like that it wasn't the most sturdy thing ever. I don't travel much. It does look perfectly straight to me. So after all these years, I've managed to keep, this looking pretty good. But again, that comes back to how are you using it? I am not traveling every single day. I only travel a few times a year. I always take it with me when I do. Oftentimes it's in that magic keyboard cover thing, which is really sturdy in itself, which is going to provide it more support. But as far as durability goes, and when we're talking about these larger iPad Pros, the bigger it is and the thinner it is, the easier it is to bend. So it's something to take into consideration when you're looking at something like this. Now, I do have more to talk about here, but before I do that, I want to shout out to today's sponsor, Squarespace. Have you ever wanted to sell something online? Well, Squarespace is here to save the day. It's not only an all-in-one platform for building the ultimate website, it is your gateway to selling your products, the content you create, or even your time. Squarespace lets you make your very own online store so you can sell your products to the world. Whether you're selling physical or digital products, Squarespace has all the tools you need to get started now. Squarespace's best-in-class website templates are super easy to set up and customize to your heart's content. You can browse by your category of business and find the perfect starting place. Squarespace also makes it easy to keep in touch with your audience using their email campaigns. Collect email subscribers and convert them into loyal customers, starting with an email template, and customize it by applying your brand ingredients like your site color, your logo. There's also built-in analytics that let you measure the impact of every send. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/BradColbo to save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain. Since I have had the chance to review the 2020 iPad, the 2021, 2022 M1, M2 iPads, is there anything that I miss? Are there any features that I'm like, man, I wish it had that? And the answer to that is no. That's the main reason I'm still using this iPad. The new M1 iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil now has hover. That is a cool feature. That was something I couldn't really cover too much in my review because my review came out at a time where not everything had really implemented that yet. Many of those apps have started rolling that out. Procreate has that now. Affinity, I believe, now has that. Several apps have hover now. And it's been implemented really well. And if there was one thing that was really going to push me from this iPad to the new one, that might be the feature. But when I jumped back to this iPad, I found I didn't really miss it that much. That's just me though, and the way I draw. This has an A12 Bionic Processor. Now to put that in perspective, the last year's, ninth generation iPad has a better processor than my iPad Pro. That's the A13 Bionic. So the one thing that might hold this back is there's only 4 gigabytes of RAM on this iPad. The new iPad Pros with the M1, M2 chip are coming with at least 8 gigabytes of RAM, twice as much RAM. One thing that Apple did at WWDC this year is they opened up the iPad's processing power to app developers to use more of that headroom to develop more pro-level apps. It takes a long time to develop those apps. We're seeing DaVinci Resolve, which is a video editing program, that is going to be coming to the iPad next year. That's an exciting development. Maybe we'll see similar advancements on the graphics side of things. I don't know. We'll have to kind of wait and see what we get there. But I can see a point in the future where having that M1 and M2 chip is going to be really, really nice, if not necessary for the kind of work I want to do. One of the features that is locked down to those M1 and M2 chips is the ability to use a second screen with your iPad. That comes in a later version of iOS 16, hasn't rolled out yet. I have played around with the new Stage Manager feature in iOS 16, which does work on older iPads. It's a new way to multitask on an iPad, and in general, so far at least in this current iteration, I don't really find it that useful for what I do. Now, a lot has happened in the last 4 years in the tech world, and even though the new iPads look and feel and operate for all intents and purposes like this iPad, there have been a lot of competitors that have rolled out that I've been really impressed with and have almost, at times, tempted me away from this iPad. I guess it's been 2 years now, but the Galaxy Tab S7 Plus, which is a larger size Android tablet, I used that for a full month, and I put this iPad to the side and I said, this is going to be my primary device because it had some really good software. Clip Studio had just rolled out. I love drawing in Clip Studio. I was able to put all my social media stuff on there and watch video and do everything on that tablet that I do on the iPad. At the end of the day, I ended up going back to the iPad because it was a little bit clunky working within that Android ecosystem and sharing files back to my Mac when I needed to use them. I'm so used to just airdropping things all the time. It's so seamless. And I do prefer the Apple Pencil over the S Pen that comes with the Galaxy tablets. Now, earlier this year, there was the Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra, which is a huge screen, and it was kind of the same thing. I absolutely loved that thing. I think I gave it my Device of the Year award in my last video, but I still ended up coming back to the iPad for pretty much the same reasons. There was the Surface Laptop Studio that came out last year, which I absolutely loved, which gave me the power of a laptop, but let me fold down the screen. They really improved that Surface Pen, that Surface Slim Pen 2. But again, that felt more like a laptop, and that was competing more with my time on the Mac than it was competing with the iPad. So, you know, apples and oranges. Same thing with the Surface, which is another product that I really, really like, but it's more of a laptop replacement. It's a nice hybrid if you need both, but kind of want that tablet form factor. I've also reviewed like a lot of tablets that connect to a laptop. Most recently, the Wacom Cintiq Pro 27. That thing is amazing, but again, it's not portable. I can't draw on the couch. I can't take it with me. It's a great device for what it is, but it doesn't really fit the way that I work. All right, so what would I change? And this is the hardest question to answer because overall, I think this is the perfect drawing tool, and it does everything that I ever wanted a drawing tool to do. When the iPad Pro first came out, way back, I mean, we're talking 6-7 years ago now, there wasn't a lot like it out there. There were Wacom tablets that had a lot of cores. They weren't portable. There was the Surface Pro line, which is, you know, a full-blown Windows computer. So being able to draw on an iPad was really nice. And over the years, that ecosystem and the drawing apps have improved and gotten better. And now we're at a point where it does exactly what I need it to do. If I was gonna buy this again, I would definitely go with more storage. If I knew this was gonna last 4 years, I probably would have maxed that out. But even as Apple has continued to add features to their iPads, I look at them and go, that's nice. I don't really need it. So that's me, and I know not everybody really wants to be or even loves to be in the Apple ecosystem. Sometimes I bang up against the walls here and there. But overall, this has fit my needs perfectly. And the fact that I can't think of anything that I really desperately need this to do that it doesn't already do tells you that it's a pretty good product. And I think one of the reasons you would go with this over maybe that entry-level iPad or even the iPad Air is the fact that you know you're going to get a product that's going to last at least 4 years, 5 years, maybe even 6 years, which when you look at this makes the price seem more reasonable. Yeah, so those are my thoughts. I would love to know in the comments, what piece of tech have you used the longest and just have hung on to because it just works great for you? Let me know down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.